Elijah Miller had never dropped his phone before. Not in boardrooms. Not in front of investors. Not in interviews where millions watched his every blink. He was the kind of man who controlled everything, from stock prices to silence in a room. So when his phone slipped from his hand and shattered against the hardwood floor of a small downtown restaurant, the entire room felt it. The sharp crack echoed. Conversations paused. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. And Elijah Miller, CEO of Miller Technologies, worth more than half the buildings in the city, stood frozen beside his table. He wasn't supposed to be here. He usually dined in private clubs where no one dared approach him. But tonight, after a brutal shareholder meeting, he'd walked 3 blocks without thinking and entered the first quiet restaurant he saw. No security. No reservation. Just space. He hadn't noticed the waitress watching him from across the room. Camilla Moore noticed everything. She was 26, 5'6", blonde hair pulled into a low ponytail, pale skin dusted lightly with freckles across her nose. Slim, graceful, but with the kind of quiet exhaustion that only came from working double shifts for years. She had learned to read customers the way other people read books. And the moment Elijah walked in, 6'2", broad shoulders under a tailored navy suit, sharp jawline, gray-blue eyes that looked permanently focused, she knew he didn't belong in this restaurant. He looked like a man who was used to commanding air. But right now, he looked shaken. The phone lay face down on the floor between them. Camilla stepped forward before anyone else moved. "I've got it," she said softly. She crouched and picked up the phone carefully. The screen was cracked badly. But what caught her attention wasn't the damage. It was the notification that lit up across the fractured glass. "Unknown number, if you expose this, you lose everything." Camilla's breath hitched. She hadn't meant to read it. But she had. And Elijah saw in her eyes that she had. For one suspended second, something unspoken passed between them. Not embarrassment. Not anger. Fear. Then he masked it. "Thank you," he said calmly, his voice deep, controlled. Too controlled. Camilla handed it back. "Of course, sir." She expected him to dismiss her. Most powerful men did. Instead, he studied her. Not in a flirtatious way. In a measuring way. As if calculating risk. "You didn't see anything," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Camilla felt something tighten in her chest. "I saw a cracked screen," she replied evenly. His eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't sound intimidated. She didn't sound impressed either. That unsettled him more than if she had asked for a photo. He nodded once and returned to his table. Camilla walked back toward the service counter, but her heart wasn't steady. "If you expose this, you lose everything." Expose what? She tried to push it out of her mind. Not her business. She had rent due in 3 days. Her younger brother's college tuition payment was late. She did not need billionaire problems. Still. She kept glancing at him. He didn't eat much. Barely touched the steak he ordered. His jaw was tight. His fingers tapped once against the table, the only sign of agitation. 5 minutes later, the restaurant door opened. 2 men entered. Dark suits. Not customers. They scanned the room once. Then walked toward Elijah. Camilla felt it immediately. Something was wrong. They didn't sit. They stood beside him. The taller one leaned down and spoke low. But not low enough. "You shouldn't have left the building alone." Elijah didn't look up. "I'm not a prisoner." "You are tonight." Camilla's pulse spiked. Prisoner. The shorter man's gaze shifted across the restaurant and stopped on her. He had noticed her watching. She quickly turned away. But it was too late. When she looked back, Elijah was already standing. His chair scraped softly against the floor. He placed cash on the table, far more than the bill. And walked toward the exit. The 2 men followed closely behind. As he passed the service counter, he paused. Just slightly. His voice was barely above a whisper. "If anyone asks, I wasn't here long." Camilla stared at him. "Are you in trouble?" There it was. The question no one else would dare ask him. For the first time that night, his composure cracked, just a fraction. "Everyone is in trouble," he said quietly. "They just don't know it yet." Then he left. The bell above the door chimed. And he was gone. Camilla didn't sleep well that night. She told herself it was nothing. Wealthy people had complicated lives. Threats probably came with the job. But something in his eyes stayed with her. Not arrogance. Not entitlement. Pressure. Like a man holding up a ceiling that was cracking. The next afternoon, her manager called her into the office. "There's someone here to see you." Camilla frowned. "No one visits me at work." "Well," her manager said stiffly, "this one does." She stepped outside. And her stomach dropped. A black SUV idled by the curb. One of the men from last night stood beside it. The shorter one. His expression unreadable. "Ms. Moore." Her pulse quickened. "Yes. You need to come with us." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "For what?" "Elijah Miller would like to speak with you." She didn't move. "I'm working." "He's not asking." A cold thread of fear slipped down her spine. This was exactly the kind of situation her instincts warned her about. Powerful men. No witnesses. No explanations. "What if I say no?" she asked. The man tilted his head slightly. "You won't." There was no threat in his tone. Which made it worse. Camilla's mind raced. If she refused, what then? Would they come back? Cause trouble for the restaurant? For her brother? She swallowed. "Give me 5 minutes." The ride was silent. The SUV windows were tinted dark. City streets blurred past. Camilla kept her hands folded tightly in her lap. When they stopped, she realized they weren't at a corporate office. They were at a private residential building overlooking the river. The doors opened. She stepped out carefully. Inside, everything was glass and quiet luxury. And at the far end of the living room stood Elijah Miller. No suit this time. Just a white button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his forearms. He looked less armored. But more dangerous somehow. The cracked phone lay on the table beside him. "You came," he said. "I wasn't sure I had a choice." Something flickered in his eyes. "Regret." "Sit," he gestured. She remained standing. "What is this about?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he picked up the phone and turned the broken screen toward her. The same message was still there. "If you expose this, you lose everything." "You read it," he said calmly. "Yes." "Did you tell anyone?" "No." Silence. The kind that presses against your ears. "Good," he said finally. "That's it?" she asked. "You brought me here to confirm I can keep quiet." His jaw tightened slightly. "No." He stepped closer. Not invading her space, but close enough that she could see the faint exhaustion under his eyes. "I brought you here because last night, someone tried to access my phone remotely," he said. "Right after it fell." Her stomach dropped. And the only unfamiliar variable in that room was you." The words hit like ice water. "You think I hacked your phone?" "I think," he said carefully, "that coincidences don't exist at my level." There it was. The accusation. The shift. The tension tightening like a wire. Camilla felt heat rise in her chest, not fear this time. Anger. "You think I planned for you to drop your phone," she said quietly. "I think someone might have known where I would be." "And you think that someone is a waitress making $14 an hour?" Silence. His eyes held hers. Searching. Measuring. Calculating risk again. Then. A sharp knock echoed from the hallway. Both of them turned. One of his security men stepped inside, face tense. "Sir," he said. "There's a problem." Elijah's expression darkened. "What kind of problem?" The guard hesitated. Then said the one sentence that changed everything. "They're saying the leak came from inside your personal network." The room went still. Camilla felt it. The shift. She wasn't a suspect anymore. She was standing in the middle of something much bigger. Elijah slowly turned back to her. And for the first time since she met him, he didn't look powerful. He looked betrayed. And afraid. The phrase echoed in Camilla's head long after the security guard left the room. The leak came from inside your personal network. Elijah didn't move at first. He stared at the cracked screen of his phone like it had betrayed him personally. Then he exhaled once, slowly. "Get IT on lockdown," he told the guard. "No one leaves the executive floor." Yes, sir. The door closed. Silence returned. Camilla's pulse was loud in her ears. I should go, she said quietly. Elijah looked at her, really looked at her. You think this ends when you walk out that door? Her stomach tightened. What does that mean? It means, he said evenly, whoever sent that message believes I'm about to expose something. Expose what? He hesitated. That hesitation told her everything. This wasn't minor corporate drama. This was war. There are discrepancies in our defense software contracts, he said finally. Billions routed through shell firms. I found it 2 weeks ago. Billions. Camilla felt the air thin. And you were going to report it? Yes. And now someone knows. Yes. And somehow. I'm in this. His gaze didn't soften. You were in the room when my phone was compromised. She folded her arms instinctively. You brought me here because you still don't fully trust me. That would be smart, he replied. There it was again, that calculating CEO mind. She stepped back slightly. Then why not hand me over to your security team? His jaw tightened. Because my security team might be part of it. That landed harder than everything else. The danger wasn't outside. It was inside. By that evening, Elijah Miller was trending. Not for innovation. Not for profits. But for scandal. A financial blog published an anonymous tip. Miller Technologies CEO under investigation for internal data leak. The headline spread like wildfire. Stock dipped within hours. News vans parked outside headquarters. Camilla watched it unfold on the TV behind the bar at the restaurant when she returned for her shift. Customers whispered. Speculated. Judged. Her manager approached her slowly. You know him. Her throat tightened. He ate here once. That's not what I asked. She didn't answer. But someone else did. The restaurant door opened. And 2 men in suits stepped inside. Not security this time. Press. Cameras in hand. They scanned the room. Then locked onto her. Camilla Moore. Her blood ran cold. Yes. Is it true you were with Elijah Miller the night before the leak? Every head in the restaurant turned. The room felt smaller. I was serving tables. So you admit you had contact with him? I served him food. Did he discuss company matters with you? No. Were you aware of any illegal activity? No. Are you romantically involved with him? The question hit like a slap. No. Then why did you leave work today in a private SUV connected to Miller Technologies? Her heart dropped. They had followed her. The entire restaurant was watching. Her manager's expression had changed, from curiosity to suspicion. She swallowed. I don't owe you answers. One of the reporters smiled slightly. Public perception says otherwise. By the next morning, her name was online. Not front page. But close enough. Mystery waitress linked to CEO data leak. There was a blurry photo of her entering the SUV. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers. Messages. Threats. Accusations. Her brother called. What did you do? I didn't do anything. It doesn't look that way. She closed her eyes. I didn't do anything, she repeated. But doubt was already creeping into his voice. That hurt more than the headlines. Elijah watched the same headlines from his office. Board members demanded emergency meetings. Investors wanted answers. His executive assistant, Rebecca Lawson, stood by his desk, tablet in hand. Rebecca was poised, early 30s, tall, precise. Blonde hair always immaculate. She had worked beside him for 5 years. I warned you about going out alone, she said evenly. I don't recall asking. You didn't have to. Her eyes flicked to the article. This waitress situation complicates things. It doesn't, he said sharply. Publicly, it does. His gaze hardened. Are you suggesting she's involved? I'm suggesting, Rebecca replied smoothly, that proximity creates opportunity. Something about her tone lingered. Too neutral. Too measured. Elijah leaned back slowly. Who has access to my personal network logs? Senior IT. Myself. You. And who compiled the internal audit you reviewed? Kelvin from finance. He nodded slowly. Bring me all raw server logs from the night of the breach. Rebecca didn't move immediately. That level of access could raise suspicion. It already has. A beat passed. Then she nodded. Of course. She turned to leave. But as she did, something flickered in her expression. Something unsettled. That night, Camilla returned to her apartment and found the door slightly open. Her pulse spiked instantly. She never left it unlocked. She stepped inside cautiously. Nothing looked overturned. Nothing missing. Until she reached the kitchen counter. A single sheet of paper lay there. No envelope. Just words. Stay away from him. Her chest tightened. They knew where she lived. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it for 3 rings. Then answered. Silence at first. Then a voice. Distorted. You should have stayed a waitress. Her throat went dry. Who is this? You don't belong in his world. The call ended. Her hands were shaking now. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was intimidation. And it was escalating. Elijah arrived 20 minutes later. Unannounced. 2 security vehicles behind him. When she opened the door, she didn't argue. Didn't pretend she was fine. She simply handed him the paper. His jaw clenched as he read it. They're trying to isolate you, he said quietly. Why? Because you're the only variable they can't control. She looked at him. I didn't ask to be involved in this. I know. Silence filled the apartment. Heavy. Charged. Then why am I still here? She asked softly. He looked at her like the question was bigger than it sounded. Because, he said slowly, if they're targeting you, it means they're afraid. Of what? Of what you saw. I saw a message. Yes. And that message proves I was about to expose someone. Her chest tightened. So they're destroying you first. He didn't deny it. And using me to do it. His eyes darkened. They miscalculated. A beat passed. How? He stepped closer. Not aggressively. But deliberately. Because I don't abandon people who are dragged into my battles. Her breath caught slightly. That wasn't CEO language. That was personal. Too personal. You barely know me, she whispered. I know you didn't sell the story. How? You could have made money from it. She met his eyes steadily. I don't want your world. His voice dropped lower. That might be the only reason I trust you. The air shifted between them. Subtle. But undeniable. Then. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. And everything in his posture changed. What? She asked. He turned the screen toward her. Live news broadcast. Breaking. Federal inquiry launched into Miller Technologies CEO. Source claims direct involvement. Her stomach dropped. That's not possible, she whispered. It is, he said quietly. Because attached to the report was documentation. Internal audit files. Files only 3 people had access to. Him. Kelvin. And Rebecca. Elijah stared at the screen. Then said the one thing that froze the room. I didn't upload that. Camilla's heart began pounding. If you didn't, then someone wants you arrested. He didn't respond. Because he already knew. This wasn't sabotage. It was replacement. Someone wasn't just trying to scare him. They were trying to remove him. And whoever it was had access at the highest level. The knock on the door came seconds later. Not gentle. Not friendly. Authoritative. Camilla's breath caught. Elijah didn't flinch. He simply looked at her. And for the first time since she met him, he didn't look calculating. He looked like a man standing at the edge of losing everything. Whatever happens, he said quietly, you stay out of this. The knock came again. Louder. Mr. Miller. Federal agents. Camilla's pulse thundered. Elijah exhaled slowly. Then walked toward the door. And opened it. The agents didn't storm in. They walked in calmly. Which somehow made it worse. Mr. Miller, the lead agent said, flashing his badge. We need you to come with us for questioning. Camilla stood a few feet behind Elijah, her hands trembling at her sides. This is about the leak, Elijah asked evenly. It's about fraud, obstruction, and insider manipulation, the agent replied. Camilla's stomach twisted. Fraud. Obstruction. That wasn't investigation. That was prosecution language. You have the wrong man, she said before she could stop herself. Every head turned toward her. The agent's eyes lingered on her face. And you are? Camilla. Recognition flickered. Ah. The waitress. The word was neutral. But it carried weight. Status. Hierarchy. Dismissal. Elijah's jaw tightened. She's not involved. That remains to be seen, the agent said calmly. They didn't handcuff him. But they didn't need to. The cameras outside would do more damage than metal ever could. As Elijah stepped toward the door, he paused beside Camilla. Their eyes met. Not CEO and waitress. Not power and ordinary. Just two people caught in a storm neither asked for. Don't talk to anyone, he murmured. She wanted to say something strong. Something brave. Instead, she whispered, I won't run. For the first time, something almost like a smile touched his expression. Then he left. The media exploded within the hour. CEO detained. Federal inquiry intensifies. Waitress connection deepens. Camilla turned off the television. Panic would not help him. Fear would not clear his name. And sitting still would not change anything. She replayed everything in her mind. The cracked phone. The message. The personal network breach. The internal audit leak. Only 3 people had access. Elijah. Kelvin. Rebecca. Kelvin hadn't been mentioned again. Too quiet. Rebecca had been calm. Too calm. Camilla's pulse quickened. There was something else. Something small. Something she hadn't processed. That night in Elijah's apartment. When the security guard said the breach came from inside the personal network. Rebecca hadn't looked surprised. She had looked prepared. Camilla grabbed her jacket. If she was wrong, she'd look foolish. If she was right. She didn't let herself finish that thought. Miller Technologies' headquarters was chaos. Reporters clustered outside. Employees whispered inside. Camilla walked in without hesitation. Security stopped her. I need to see Rebecca Lawson. She's unavailable. Tell her it's about the network logs. The guard hesitated. Then stepped aside. 5 minutes later, Camilla stood inside Rebecca's pristine office. Glass walls. Perfect desk. Everything controlled. Rebecca looked exactly as she always did. Polished. Unbothered. You're bold, Rebecca said lightly. Coming here today. Camilla didn't sit. You knew the breach would happen. Rebecca didn't blink. That's a serious accusation. You weren't surprised. I'm rarely surprised. Camilla stepped closer. You compiled the audit file Elijah reviewed. Yes. And you knew he was going to report the discrepancies. That was his decision. And you had access to his personal network. Rebecca's eyes cooled slightly. So did he. Camilla's heart pounded, but she pressed forward. The leak made him look guilty. Not incompetent. Guilty. Silence. A small shift in Rebecca's posture. Tiny. But real. Camilla saw it. You didn't want him exposed, Camilla continued. You wanted him removed. Rebecca's voice dropped a degree. Careful. Why? Camilla asked softly. Because I'm just a waitress. For the first time, something sharp flashed behind Rebecca's composure. You have no idea how corporations work. Then explain it to me. Rebecca stood slowly. Walked toward the glass wall overlooking the city. Do you know how long I've been cleaning up Elijah's mistakes, she said quietly. Camilla's chest tightened. He built the company, she replied. And I kept it running, Rebecca snapped. There it was. Not calm. Not measured. Personal. He trusts you, Camilla said carefully. Yes, Rebecca said. He does. And that wasn't enough. Rebecca turned slowly. He was going to destroy everything, she said. Exposing that contract would have collapsed the company's government partnerships. Thousands would lose jobs. So you framed him. I protected what he built. No, Camilla said softly. You wanted control. The silence stretched. Heavy. Rebecca studied her. Then something surprising happened. She smiled. Small. Cold. You're smarter than you look. Camilla's pulse raced. Did you think I wouldn't trace the network route? Rebecca continued. The breach was designed to look internal. Because it was. You used his own credentials. Rebecca didn't deny it. You can't prove that. Camilla's mind worked fast. Proof. Proof. Then she remembered something else. The cracked phone. The remote access attempt. You tried to hack his phone when he dropped it, she said slowly. Rebecca's expression flickered. Barely. But enough. You were in the restaurant, Camilla said. Rebecca went still. 3 tables behind him, Camilla continued. Blonde hair. Black dress. You left before he did. Rebecca's silence was confirmation. Camilla's heart pounded louder. You needed physical proximity to attempt the network override. Rebecca stepped closer. And what exactly are you going to do with that theory? Camilla swallowed. I'll tell the agents. Rebecca's voice dropped lower. You think they'll believe you over me? It was a fair question. Camilla had no badge. No title. No power. But she had something else. She pulled her phone from her pocket. And pressed play. Rebecca's voice filled the office. I protected what he built. Silence. Rebecca's face changed. Not rage. Not panic. Calculation. You recorded me. You underestimated me. Security alarms suddenly blared through the building. Rebecca's eyes shifted toward the hallway. Too many moving parts. Too much happening at once. Then the office door opened. Federal agents stepped inside. The same lead agent from the apartment. He looked from Camilla to Rebecca. We traced the network reroute, he said calmly. It originated from this floor. Rebecca's mask finally cracked. Not dramatically. Just enough. Enough to know she had lost. She looked at Camilla once. You think he'll choose you over the company? Camilla's voice didn't shake. He already did. Rebecca was escorted out. Head high. But defeated. 3 days later, Elijah walked out of the federal building cleared of charges. The press still shouted. Cameras still flashed. But the narrative had shifted. Assistant arrested in CEO framing scheme. Camilla stood a little distance away. Not center stage. Not claiming credit. When Elijah saw her, the noise seemed to dull. He walked toward her slowly. No security barrier this time. No hierarchy. Just him. You didn't stay out of it, he said. No. Why? She hesitated. Because this was the moment. The honest one. Because I didn't want you fighting alone. Silence stretched between them. Soft. Not tense. Different. He stepped closer. You could have lost everything. I don't have everything to lose. He studied her. Then shook his head slightly. That's not true. Her breath caught. What do I have? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket. And pulled out a small velvet box. Her heart stopped. Camilla, he said quietly, no cameras near enough to catch it clearly, I built a company by calculating risk. He opened the box. A simple diamond ring caught the light. But you, he continued, voice steady but softer than she had ever heard it, are the only decision I've made without calculation. Her eyes filled. This is fast, she whispered. He almost smiled. So was the night my phone fell. A tear slipped down her cheek. I'm still a waitress. You're still honest. He held her gaze. Marry me. There was no dramatic music. No kneeling in front of reporters. Just truth. She let the moment sit. Because she understood something now. Power didn't protect you. Integrity did. Yes, she said softly. And for the first time since the phone hit the floor. Elijah Miller looked completely at peace. As cameras began to notice, as headlines prepared to pivot again, Camilla slipped the ring onto her finger. The city buzzed around them. Stocks would recover. Boards would restructure. News would cycle. But neither of them were thinking about that. Because sometimes, the smallest accident, a cracked screen, a single choice, a waitress who refused to stay silent, can change everything. And this time, he didn't drop the phone. He held on.